The crack in the air wasn't just light now, it was sound. Whispers bled through, each one calling his name in voices he both recognized and didn't. Karen's grip tightened. If you step through, you won't come back the same, or at all. Miguel planted himself between Alex and the table. And if he doesn't step through Karen, the network keeps remaking people until there's nothing left of who they really are. The pull became physical. The hairs on Alex's arms rose as if the air itself was grabbing him. The glass pages of the anchor flipped on their own, stopping at an image that froze him, a version of himself in another reality, older, hardened, standing beside Karen's husband in a city he'd never visited. That Alex looked straight at him through the page and mouthed something. Two words: "Don't trust." Karen swallowed hard. "Alex, my husband didn't just vanish. I sent him through." She looked away. "They told me it would protect him. But when he came back," she faltered, "he wasn't him anymore. He remembered things that didn't exist. He remembered killing people who weren't real." Her eyes were wet, but her voice was steel. "If you go through, you might become someone else entirely. Maybe better, maybe worse." The tear stretched floor to ceiling, revealing fragments of another world. Skies too blue, streets too clean, faces too perfect. Miguel's voice shook. "That's not the before. That's one of the manufactured paradises. If you step there, they'll make you think it's freedom, until you forget you were ever here." Karen whispered, "And if you find the real before, you could destroy them." The golden light spilled over them like warm water, almost enough to make Alex step forward without thinking. From inside the tear, a hand reached out, human, trembling. In its palm was a key just like his, only black instead of brass. Alex's heart slammed. This wasn't a vision. Someone, or something, was offering him a way in. Miguel raised his voice over the hum. "If you take that key, you're theirs, forever." Karen took a step closer. "Or you're free, for the first time in your life." Alex stared at the hand, the black key glinting between its fingers. The world around him shook. The choice was now. Alex's fingers hovered above the black key. The moment his skin brushed it, the hum in the room turned into a deep, rolling vibration, like the earth itself was holding its breath. Karen shouted over the sound, "If you take it, you have to use it immediately, before they know." Miguel lunged forward, trying to slap the key away, but Alex's hand closed around it first. The warmth of the brass key he already carried turned ice cold in his other palm, as if the two hated each other. The second he held the black key, visions crashed into his mind. Two roads, one where he stayed here, one where he stepped into the tear. In the first, Karen was dragged away by masked network operatives, Miguel vanished without a trace, and Alex lived the rest of his life pretending none of this happened. In the second, Alex stood in a place that felt like reality had been stripped bare. No color, no sound, just raw truth. And standing beside him in that truth was himself. Miguel's voice cut through the chaos. "Alex, that key isn't theirs or ours. It's from something older, something that wants both sides gone. You don't know if it's your ally or your executioner." Karen snarled, "Better an unknown ally than a known enemy." Alex looked between them. Both were terrified, but for different reasons. The tear widened even more, the hand that had offered the key now pulling at him gently, like it didn't want to force him, but wouldn't let go either. Karen's voice cracked for the first time. "If you go, find my husband. Tell him I didn't stop waiting." Miguel shook his head. "If you go, forget her, forget me, forget everything. That's the only way to survive there." Alex stepped forward, the floor beneath his feet turning soft, like he was walking on the skin of the world. The moment he crossed the threshold, the world didn't just change, it inverted. Colors bled into the ground. The sky became water, and every breath tasted like static electricity. The figure holding his hand was not human. It was a shadow shaped like him, its eyes two deep voids. It spoke without moving its mouth. "Welcome back, original." Alex felt the ground tremble beneath both worlds at once. He had left, but the network hadn't lost him. They had just found what they were looking for. The air here was heavy, like breathing in memory instead of oxygen. Alex's shadow double didn't walk, it glided, pulling him toward a jagged horizon that bent like melted glass. Every step made the world flicker, sometimes showing the ghostly outline of Elmwood, Maine beneath his feet, sometimes an endless void of spiraling constellations. The shadow's voice echoed inside his mind. You were the first one. The pattern began with you. They stopped at a shimmering pool. It wasn't water, it was a liquid mirror. Alex leaned over it and saw not just his reflection, but hundreds of versions of himself, each in different clothes, different ages, different worlds. The shadow touched the surface, and one image froze. Alex, in the exact moment he first stepped on the sidewalk in front of Karen's house. Every branch begins here, every branch ends here. Alex's stomach tightened. I caused all of this? The shadow's form trembled slightly. You didn't cause it. You were used. Something was hidden beneath your steps the day you moved in. That's why the network exists, to control the loops you create. In the mirror, Alex saw it, a faint glow in the sidewalk beneath him in that frozen memory. It wasn't the lockbox. It was something else, smaller, sharper. Karen's voice echoed in his mind. You don't know what's buried here, and you don't want to. A low hum made the mirror pool violently. The shadow looked up sharply. They've found the breach. You don't have much time. Through the sky water above them, Alex saw shapes, dozens of network constructs drilling down through the fabric of this world like insects through silk. The shadow turned to him. Decide now. Stay, and I'll show you the truth, or run, and you'll never know what you were. Alex felt the ground beneath his feet turn to cracked concrete again, the exact spot in front of Karen's house. He could hear faint voices from the other side, Miguel barking orders, Karen shouting his name. The shadow reached out a hand. One truth, one choice, one ending. Alex closed his eyes. The smell of Elmwood Lane's autumn leaves mixed with the electric air of this place. Somewhere deep inside, he already knew which world he would choose. When Alex opened his eyes, the cracked sidewalk pulsed, not like stone under pressure, like skin under a heartbeat. He staggered back. The shadow beside him whispered, "It's been waiting for you." The fissures widened, revealing a faint blue glow seeping upward. It wasn't cold light, it felt warm, almost breathing against his face. The concrete gave way, peeling apart like paper soaked in acid. Beneath was not soil, not pipework, but a network of translucent tendrils, roots, veins, nerves, stretching far beyond the street. At the center pulsed a small orb, no larger than a fist. It rotated slowly, emitting an almost inaudible hum that made the air tremble. The shadow spoke. Every memory, every choice, every time you've lived this street, it's inside there. A sharp cry split the moment. Karen burst through the barrier between worlds, face pale, hair whipping, as if she'd run through a storm. Her gaze locked on the orb. Don't touch it, Alex. You think you want answers, but this will make you remember everything. The shadow leaned toward him. She's terrified because she's not ready for her own truth. Before Alex could move, the ground shuddered. Miguel appeared, wearing a harness studded with glowing nodes. The network has protocols for breaches like this, Miguel said sharply. We seal it, now. Karen stepped in front of him. If you do, the loops keep happening. People keep suffering. Miguel's jaw tightened. Better that than what happens if it wakes up fully. Alex felt drawn toward the orb. its glow reflecting in his eyes. Every step closer made flashes burst in his head. Dozens of Karens, hundreds of Miguels, thousands of himself, each one making different choices, each one ending differently. He reached out. His fingers brushed the surface. It was warm, and in that warmth was a voice, not Karen's, not the shadows, not Miguel's, whispering directly into his mind. Welcome back, Original. Alex felt the ground tremble beneath both worlds at once. He had left, but the network hadn't lost him. They had just found what they were looking for. The air here was heavy, like breathing in memory instead of oxygen. Alex's shadow double didn't walk, it glided, pulling him toward a jagged horizon that bent like melted glass. Every step made the moment Alex's palm pressed fully against the orb, his body dissolved, not in pain, but in recognition. The street, the houses, the sunset, all bled away. In their place stood a version of Elmwood Lane with no cracks, no sidewalks, no people, just a barren expanse of white stone stretching into nothing. And in the distance, a single figure building the first house. Alex moved closer. The builder's movements were slow but deliberate, shaping walls without tools, pulling materials from thin air. When the man turned, Alex's breath caught. It was him, not just similar, identical. The man smiled faintly. So, they finally sent you back. A shadow passed over them. A woman approached, holding a bundle of glowing keys. She was Karen, but younger, sharper, and kind. Don't listen to him, she told Alex. He started the cycle to protect what's buried here, but every time it resets, more of us are trapped inside. The man, his original self, shook his head. No, I'm keeping the cycle because the thing under the street is not ready to wake. Alex suddenly saw it, the very first argument, the moment it all began. He and Karen had been allies once, guarding the orb together. But when the network found them, they disagreed on the only way to keep it safe. His past self wanted to loop time endlessly so the orb could never be reached. Karen wanted to break the loop so the orb could evolve and choose its own guardian. Neither trusted the other enough to compromise, so the first fracture was born. Alex's vision shifted again, showing the construction of the first reset trigger, the crack in the sidewalk. Every time someone touched the orb without permission, the world snapped back to the start, memories wiped clean, except for Karen's and his own. The orb's voice whispered to him now, "You made me, you buried me, but you've forgotten why. Remember, and choose again." The white stone world began to splinter, the first cycle collapsing. The splintering world held for just a moment longer, giving Alex the chance to stand before his original self. The man's presence was overwhelming, not just physically, but in the way he seemed to carry centuries of memory in his eyes. "You've been living echoes of my choice," the original said, "and now you've touched the orb, you can break it." Alex steadied himself. "Then tell me why you started it." The original's gaze drifted to the endless white horizon. "It wasn't about the orb," he admitted. "It was about her, Karen. She's not from here. She came through before the street existed, carrying something the network has hunted for since the first world was drawn." Alex frowned. "Something?" "A seed," the original said. "One that can rewrite reality, but only if it's planted in the right moment. I kept looping time so the moment would never come." The white air shimmered, and there she was, the younger Karen, watching them. She stepped forward slowly, eyes on Alex. "I never told you because you would have tried to destroy it," she said. "The seed is inside me, has been since before this street. Every loop keeps it dormant, but when it wakes, it ends the network's control over all of us." Alex's pulse quickened. "So this is a war." Karen nodded. "One you've been fighting against me in every timeline without knowing it." A deep rumble shook the white expanse. Miguel appeared, stepping through a jagged tear in the air, flanked by two faceless network enforcers. I told you, Miguel said coldly. We're here to seal it, and if I have to remove Karen from the cycle to do it, I will. The original moved to block him, but Miguel wasn't aiming for the orb. His weapon pointed directly at Karen. The ground cracked wide open, white stone falling into a black void. The orb's voice filled Alex's head, louder than thought. Decide now. Protect the seed or protect the cycle. Karen's eyes pleaded with him. The original's hand tightened on his shoulder. Miguel's weapon began to glow. And somewhere deep below them, the pulse of the orb quickened, as if it was eager for his choice. The air rippled like water around Alex as all three pairs of eyes bored into him. Karen's desperate, the original's steady, Miguel's burning with calculation. He could feel the key in his pocket, heating, resonating with the orb's pulse. Then he stepped between Miguel and Karen. The cycle ends. She lives. The orb's hum spiked into a piercing tone, splitting the air. Miguel fired, only for the bolt to freeze in midair, suspended like a glass shard in honey. The orb glowed until cracks spiderwebbed through its surface, light seeping from within. All around them, the loops began to crumble, houses shifting into ruins, streets flickering between day and night, neighbors aging and de-aging in stuttering frames. Karen clutched her chest as if something inside her was waking up. Her voice came out layered, more than human. The seed is not an object, it's a rewrite, and now it will spread. From her fingertips, strands of golden light drifted down like pollen, embedding into the collapsing ground. Wherever they landed, reality rewove itself, not into the familiar neighborhood, but into something wilder, freer, unbound by symmetry or control. Miguel stumbled back. You're killing the framework. You'll bring chaos. Karen smiled faintly. Chaos is life. Far above, the sky fractured into countless floating windows, the surveillance feeds of the network, blinking out one by one. In the last still active frame, Alex saw a vast chamber of figures in black robes, all watching in horror as their systems died. The original's voice was quiet in his ear. It's done. There will be no more loops. Alex turned, but the original was already fading, like a drawing erased from the page. When the light finally dimmed, Alex found himself standing back on Elmwood Lane. But the street was different. The trees were taller and more tangled, the sidewalks uneven, broken in places. The air felt alive, humming with unseen movement. Karen stood a few feet away, older now, but free of the tension she'd carried for decades. No more watching, she said softly. Walk where you like, Alex. It's yours now, too. Somewhere deep under the cracked concrete, the key cooled in his pocket, but he knew he'd never throw it away. Elmwood Lane had grown wilder in every sense. Lawns no longer matched, sidewalks meandered like lazy rivers, and the air smelled of earth and rain even in midsummer. Alex had taken up long walks, no more avoiding Karen's stretch of concrete. Karen herself had kept to her porch, always with a faint, knowing smile. But one morning, Alex noticed something strange. Where the original crack in the sidewalk had been, a green vine was pushing through, its leaves patterned with symbols he couldn't recognize. That night, he found another note on his doorstep. No signature, just 2 words written in the same hurried scrawl from a year ago. It's growing. Beneath the words was a small, perfect impression of the same leaf pattern from the vine. When Alex asked Karen about it, she didn't smile this time. Instead, she leaned forward and whispered, "The seed doesn't just rewrite places, it rewrites people, and once it starts, it doesn't stop." Her eyes flicked to the vine curling along the sidewalk. It's looking for a new keeper. Alex felt a cold shiver crawl up his spine. Keeper of what? Karen looked at him for a long moment. Not what, who? By autumn, the vine that spread halfway down the block, leaving behind tiny blooms that seemed to watch passers-by. Dogs barked at them. Cats refused to cross their path. One evening, Alex caught his reflection in a rain puddle, and the eyes staring back reflect with gold. On the first frost of winter, Karen came to his door holding the brass key. "It's yours now," she said. From somewhere deep under the sidewalk, Alex heard a faint, rhythmic hum, like a heartbeat echoing through stone. As he took the key, the hum grew louder, syncing with his own pulse. In that moment, he understood. The loops were gone, but the seed was only just beginning. The frost was heavier than usual that December. Elmwood Lane's air felt sharper, as if the cold carried something alive with it. When Karen pressed the brass key into Alex's palm, he felt heat pulse from it, impossible in the freezing night. "This isn't about the sidewalk anymore," she murmured. "It's about what's underneath. It's waking up." Her voice was low, but her eyes flicked to the vine crawling under the frost. It wasn't dead from the cold. In fact, it was thriving, curling like a living vein through the concrete. That night, Alex couldn't sleep. Every time he shut his eyes, he heard a slow, deep hum, like the earth itself was breathing. It wasn't just sound, it vibrated through his bones. Around 3 a.m., he found himself at the sidewalk without remembering walking there. The frost shimmered faintly green where the vine pushed beneath. And then he heard it, a whisper, so faint he thought it was the wind. "Keeper." Karen came to him the next morning, clutching a bundle of old photographs. They showed the same vine, but not here. The photos were decades old, in another town entirely. Every image ended with the streets empty, houses boarded up. "That was Willow Creek," she said. "I was 19 when the vine came there. It starts small, a crack in the concrete, a few leaves. Then it wants a mind, someone to connect to." Alex frowned. Why didn't anyone stop it? Karen's voice trembled. "Because once you hear it, you don't want to." Over the next week, Alex noticed a figure watching him from across the street. Tall, in a heavy coat, never moving until Alex blinked, then gone. One night, he got close enough to see the man's face under a street lamp. It was Karen's husband, but his eyes, they weren't human anymore. Karen's husband, Daniel, appeared at Alex's door that night. "You've been chosen," he said flatly, voice like dry leaves. "The vine picked you because you're stubborn. It needs that." Alex demanded to know where he'd been all these years. Daniel only smiled, too wide. Below. Daniel led Alex to the service hatch. The brass key fit perfectly. They descended into a tunnel lined with roots, not just any roots, but thick, glowing vines, pulsing in rhythm with Alex's heartbeat. "This is the network," Daniel said. "Every root connects to memories, secrets, entire lives. That's why the city hides it. You could control anyone if you knew the right secrets." The next day, Alex was approached by a man in a gray suit claiming to work for urban infrastructure. He offered Alex money to let the city study the vine. When Alex refused, the man's smile never faded, but he slipped a photo into Alex's hand. It was a picture of Alex sleeping in his bed, taken the night before. Karen came to him one final time. If they get it, the vine won't just be in Elmwood Lane. It will spread to every street, every mind, and it won't stop for anyone. Her hands shook as she gave him a small glass vial filled with dark liquid. "If you pour this on the root heart, it'll kill it, but you'll lose everything it's given you, and it will fight back." That night, Alex stood before the root heart. It glowed brighter than ever, humming in his chest. Visions flooded his mind, memories of people on the block, their secrets, their fears. He could fix things. He could control outcomes. He could be more than just a man. All it would take is letting the vine live. Alex hesitated with the vial. Behind him, Daniel whispered, "If you destroy it, you destroy me too. We are the same now." Ahead of him, the vine pulsed faster, as if it could feel his doubt. Finally, Alex poured the liquid. The vine screamed, not in sound, but in a tearing sensation through his skull. The roots writhed, turning black, collapsing in on themselves. Daniel fell to the floor, unmoving. The hum stopped. The city crew arrived 2 days later to find the sidewalk ordinary again, the crack sealed over. Karen was gone. Her house stood empty. Alex still walked Elmwood Lane, but something was missing. Not just the vine, but the pull. And sometimes, when he closed his eyes at night, he swore he could still hear the faintest hum far below. On the first day of spring, Alex found a small envelope in his mailbox. Inside was a single brass key, identical to the first. No note. The moment he touched it, he felt warmth again, and somewhere in the distance, the hum began anew. 2 nights after receiving the second brass key, Alex found an envelope slipped under his front door. Inside was a folded piece of parchment. At first, it looked blank, until he breathed on it. Letters bled into view in a jagged, plant-like script. Route 7 still alive. Alex remembered the maps Karen had left behind in her house. Breaking in at night, he found them untouched, except for one. A red circle was drawn in the industrial district near the river, labeled R7. The brass key felt heavier in his pocket. The location turned out to be an abandoned textile factory. The floorboards were warped with thick vines creeping through the cracks, their glow faint but unmistakable. Alex realized with a chill, this route was bigger than the one under Elmwood Lane. Before Alex could investigate, the man in the gray suit appeared again. "You failed to kill it," he said. "We need it alive. This is the last warning. Either you join us, or you vanish." Alex noticed something strange about him now. His veins glowed faintly under his skin. While searching for answers, Alex found an old city record keeper named Eleanor. She had been documenting unexplained urban growth anomalies for 40 years. She showed him a dusty ledger with dozens of incidents like Elmwood Lane, in different cities, decades apart. "They call it the Root Network," she said, "and you're not the first keeper. Most of them don't survive long." Following Eleanor's clues, Alex discovered a sealed maintenance hatch under the factory. The brass key fit. The tunnel beyond was damp, walls covered in vines that pulsed in slow, hypnotic waves. The hum returned, louder than ever. At the tunnel's end was something Alex had never seen, a massive, bulbous mass of vines intertwined, beating like a heart. It wasn't just alive, it was thinking. When he touched it, a flood of alien images filled his mind. Sprawling cities overtaken by green, streets with no people, only roots. The vine didn't want destruction, it wanted integration. As Alex pulled away, he heard Karen's voice echo in his mind. "You can't fight it forever, Alex. Sooner or later, it makes you part of it." Her voice wasn't coming from memory, it was coming from the root itself. The mass pulsed faster, as if aware of Alex's hesitation. A voice, not Karen's, but something older, spoke inside his head. "Guard me, and I will guard you. Fight me, and I will bury you." Images flashed, Alex's death in dozens of ways, but also visions of power, controlling the city from below, knowing every secret whispered above. Alex stumbled back into the tunnel, gasping. Eleanor was waiting. "You touched it, didn't you?" she asked, pale with fear. "That's how it gets you. First the whispers, then the dreams, then you're not you anymore." They didn't have long to argue. The man in the gray suit had returned, leading a team in hazmat gear. They carried flamethrowers. "Orders changed," he told Alex. "The city wants it gone." The flames roared, but the vines screamed back, a high-pitched psychic shriek that made blood run from Alex's nose. From the smoke, a figure emerged, tall, gaunt, half human, half root. His eyes glowed green. "I told you they'd come for it," he rasped. "And now they'll come for you." It was Karen's husband, not missing, not dead, but fused with the network. He reached into the vines and pulled out a blackened key. "This opens the main vault," he said. "The first route, destroy it or take its place." The choice wasn't simple. Destroying it might kill everything connected to it, including the people already merged. Alex and Eleanor followed him deeper under the city through dripping tunnels until they reached a steel hatch big enough to fit a truck. The black key turned with a grinding echo. The smell of soil and rot hit them like a wall. In the chamber beyond was a root the size of a building, glowing faintly gold. Its tendrils spread in every direction like veins. Faces moved under its surface, some screaming, some smiling. Eleanor whispered, "Those are the keepers who came before you." Suddenly, floodlights clicked on. The man in gray was there again, this time with a full strike team. "This is containment," he announced. "No survivors." Explosives were wired along the chamber walls. From the shadows above, Karen dropped down, a jagged blade in her hand. "You think you can burn it? You think you can kill me?" She moved faster than human, her veins glowing like her husband's. The vines wrapped around Alex's arms. The voice came again. "Destroy us, and the city will erase you. Save us, and you will never die." Eleanor begged him to pull the detonator. Karen's husband told him to take the root's place. Alex pressed the button. The explosion ripped through the chamber, shattering stone, tearing roots apart. The psychic scream was deafening. Then, silence. Karen and her husband vanished into the collapse. Days later, the industrial district was cordoned off. Official reports said it was a gas main rupture. Eleanor disappeared without a trace. The man in gray was never seen again. One morning, Alex found a small package at his door. Inside was a single seed, black and warm to the touch. A note in Karen's handwriting read, "You didn't kill it, you just set it free." The camera of our story pulls back from Alex's house to reveal tiny green shoots pushing up through every sidewalk in the neighborhood. The hum returns, faint at first, then louder. And that was the end of the Sidewalk secret. Or maybe just the beginning. If a single seed can survive an explosion, what else might be lurking beneath our streets right now? You've just heard what happened to Alex, Karen, and the Vines, but the truth is, this story isn't over. If you enjoyed this chilling tale and want more stories where mystery meets the unexpected, you know what to do. Smash that subscribe button, turn on the bell, and join the Karen Karma community. Because here, secrets don't stay buried for long, and you'll want to be here when the next one surfaces. This is Karen Karma, signing off. But remember, watch your step. The ground beneath you might be watching back.